This is my presentation on Fighting Climate Change by Mitchell Medeiros. First, the realities of climate change and its effect on the planet. As climate change worsens, so does food stability, weather patterns, wildlife species, habitats, and more. So let's talk about it. Food stability quickly dwindles as weather patterns become more erratic, making agriculture and ranching harder for farmers and ranchers across the world. That leads to ever increasing issues in countries that already have food insecurity, and the advent of issues in countries that were once stable start to stumble a little bit more, causing more issues and more things to mount up. Species and habitats, wildlife species and habitats, often are also very affected. This could be by the melting of the polar ice caps or deforestation to create more farming space for what was just stated as a food insecurity, which takes away from many natural habitats of wildlife like polar bears, for example, and many other species who are greatly affected by this, and entire ecosystems, because if one part of the ecosystem collapses or one animal goes extinct or becomes endangered, then it affects the rest of the chain and not just that singular animal. This creates a domino effect affecting an entire ecosystem, greatly hurting our wildlife diversity. This also has many more realities and many more negative effects of the worsening climate change. And from the book, we can tell that the realities we're approaching are two tipping points. One where we either change our mindset and transform into an era of more sustainable living and more of a regeneration mindset, trying to preserve and sustain life across the planet while also preserving the planet and its resources itself. Or we can live in ecological catastrophe with erratic weather climates, food instability, and some of the other mentioned realities of what happens if climate change continues to be ignored or continues to worsen from where it's at right now. So those two tipping points are really the realities we're running to as a society, and we need to pick and choose which one we want to live out. So some of the causes that we have for climate change are over-engineered agriculture, creating very barren land, overconsumption and waste, and fossil fuels. First, over-engineered agriculture, creating barren land. As I stated before, food insecurity is an ever-increasing issue with climate change, and part of that is then trying to make up for that food insecurity by removing or destroying other habitats or other environments, trying to create more farming land. But these unstable farming practices causes land to go barren and kills land. In the book, it stated that at some parts of the world, fresh and fertile land is now considered barren rock because nothing can live or grow there anymore because all the nutrients have been sucked out of that land due to unsustainable farming. Overconsumption and waste is also a very big cause. Our modern day view on buying and always needing new or better or bigger things creates to us throwing away and the constant need to produce and to have more. This wasteful mindset creates a lot of trash and really adds to our landfills, creating more greenhouse gases, which then goes to fossil fuels. As you can see from the photo, only 9% of the energy consumption is through renewable energy or clean energy, while 38% is by oil, 23% by gas, and 24% by coal. Barring nuclear, those three are all major powerhouses contributing to greenhouse gases in the ever-increasing climate of our planet. And our production or our burning of these fossil fuels has not slowed down despite the consequences we're already seeing. So that is one major cause. From the book, it is 87% of the carbon emissions is the burning of fossil fuels, which are fossilized plants and animals from long ago. And then finally, our solutions. No matter what party you stand by, no matter where you fall in the political realm or where your beliefs fall, there are still very simple things that shouldn't compromise any of those that you can do to help reduce or counteract climate change. The first one is a change in diet to reduce harmful livestock ranching. Changing in diet could be limiting some of your red meat consumption, which would greatly help with how, for example, like cows are farmed and everything, because that produces a lot of greenhouse gases. And a change in diet doesn't only help the environment, but it helps the person because many people consume more red meat or more poultry products than they're supposed to. So it helps overall with your own health and the health of the planet. Another one is a change in transportation. Instead of instead of using your car, try public transit or a bike or walking, something more sustainable that moves more people at once or that doesn't require the burning of gas or fossil fuels. Three is a little more, depends on where you are at the political spectrum, but still not out of the realm of possibility. If you're interested in climate change, then engagement, activism within politics, and where your vote goes is also a very important way you can help change climate change. Our lawmakers and policymakers are who we elect and who we vote for. So if we vote for people who are looking towards clean energy, then that will help spread the incentive or ideals to kind of reform our exploitative mindset and more regeneration mindset as a society, as a country. And then finally, the one I think is easiest is recycling and upcycling to reduce waste. And not only that, but it also reduces cost. Instead of going to the store to buy that new shirt, try going to Goodwill or a thrift store first and buying something that's perfectly good or perfectly new to you that someone else might have just not wanted. And it's much cheaper. You're looking at a $6 shirt versus like a $40 one from a mall or a big superstore. And then upcycling. Instead of throwing away that old t-shirt when you're done with it or because it's stained, try cutting it up and using it as a washcloth or using it as mesh for some other project, trying to make the most out of what we have. And this is an incentive in general because most people prioritize money in this day and age. So no matter where you are or who you are and what you believe in, using this as a way to save money is good for you, but it also is good for the planet and helps reduce waste and overconsumption, which is a critical cause of the ever-worsening climate change. So this is my presentation on the realities, the causes, and the solutions to climate change. I hope you enjoyed.